After weeks of pressure, Albanese has finally caved and agreed to establish a royal commission into the Bondi massacre.
It's clear to me that a royal commission is essential. Today I announced that I will be recommending to the Governor-General in an Executive Council meeting that will be held tomorrow that a royal commission on anti-Semitism and social cohesion be established. Dennis Richardson's work will become part of the commission and he will support its work with delivery of an interim report by the commission in April.
Now, the first thing to acknowledge off the top is while this is a good outcome, it's what we've all been calling for a number of weeks now. We know Albo didn't want this. He was forced into this position, kicking and screaming. The second factor that concerns me is who is going to be in charge of the Royal Commission. Virginia Bell, she is a progressive. She has made judgments in the past around protest rights that was used as one of the precedents to allow the Harbour Bridge protest to occur. So does that put her in a bit of a conflict of interest where she will be asked to judge the effects of what she is partly responsible for in her legal judgments? And then I think once you look at the terms of reference of the Royal Commission that's been put forward, firstly, no mention of radical Islam. That's the first problem. And secondly, it also states that the Royal Commission should uphold social cohesion. Now, that seemed peculiar to me because social cohesion is in tatters and the Royal Commission is trying to find out why. And that's probably not going to be very comfortable. It's going to involve a lot of hard truths. But if already off straight out the gate, the government is that concerned with upholding social cohesion, will that impact the kinds of avenues they're willing to explore here, Kel?
Of course it will. Of course it will. Bear in mind, the expression that's been used by commentators is she is Labor aligned. Now, you work out what that means. Do you really believe that Anthony Albanese sat in his office chatting to his advisors and close colleagues and didn't say, can we find a Royal Commissioner who's, one of us, on our side, who'll look after our bit, who won't dig up anything we do? Of course they had that sort of discussion. Of course they did. And the spin that he's been putting on this thing from the beginning is, well, it's all about unity and social cohesion. So it's not that we got things wrong for 2 years, not that we sat here moving at the pace of a fairly slow glacier, doing nothing. Not that at all. It's just that we're protecting social cohesion by doing nothing. So if we're inactive and ineffective, social cohesion is better. Now, he's built that into what Virginia Bell will look at. It's going to be really interesting to see the details because there'll have to be more details, and it will be interesting to see how it starts to function. If she starts functioning as someone who is going to protect the government, there will be an outcry. The very fact that she's in there means Anthony Albanese is still not listening to the Jewish community who said don't use Virginia Bell. She's brought down judgments that have allowed pro-Palestinian marches. So he ignored that, right? So this is the man who listens. I listen. I've been on a listening watch and I listened to the Jewish community. And then you rejected what they said, didn't you? That's what you did, Mr Albanese. So we have to watch the process. The meetings will be public, the hearings will be public, and we need to listen carefully to how it's being done. And the community has to keep... We've pushed this. This is not Albanese's Royal Commission. This is our Royal Commission. We now need to monitor it and we need to keep feeding back whether it's on track or not.
But that question there as well, Jamie, around radical Islam, and it's interesting in the press conference you listen to Albanese talk and he talks a lot about anti-Semitism, which obviously is the issue here, and it has come from a range of areas of society, the radical left, academia, the arts, but this terror attack was driven by radical Islamic ideology. So the fact that that has been completely left out of the terms of reference, it doesn't instill a lot of confidence in me that that's actually going to be properly addressed.
Yeah, there were a few things that also were brought to my attention too that I thought were missing from the terms of reference. But look, we do also need to say well done that he is finally, after 25 days, despite digging his heels in and ignoring calls from the Jewish community and athletes and
screaming,
absolutely
yes,
kicking and screaming, he did not want to have this Royal Commission, but he has finally done so. But he has done it by calling with Virginia Bell, who, as you just mentioned, Kel, is a Labor-friendly judge. I would have liked to have seen the coalition's idea where they appoint 3 people onto the commission, whether that's a judge, so they've got Virginia Bell, because she doesn't have any national security experience. So you would like to hope that she then brings on some really experienced staff, and within that staff, we need to ensure that they're not Labor mates. You need to go and find the experts in your field, so in the national security, which is so crucial right now, but then also members of the Jewish community also need to be part of this.
Often the most important person in a Royal Commission is the senior counsel advising the Royal Commissioner, because they are the people who cross-examine the witnesses. If they get someone good for that, that will make a difference.
Yes, but it's also interesting, I don't know if it's just me that's missed this, but it looked as though the terms of reference didn't include any of the government decision-making. So is he trying to shift the focus away from the government, which is part of the reason why we think he's taken so long to call this Royal Commission, but by mentioning things like social cohesion over and over and over and over again, I do fear that elements of the truth are going to continue to be buried off the back of that risk that he can say, oh, it'll cause non-social cohesion. And I would like to see, though, that the government is also scrutinised throughout this process.
Well, if in the detail they say government ministers or past ministers cannot be called as witnesses, cannot be cross-examined. If they say that when the detail comes out, then we know the whole thing's a stitch-up.
Then that's just an absolute sham. Yeah.